Welcome to Botanical Trails Through the Juniper Forest. I'm your host, Brian Heater. Each week, I'll have a different guest join me to explore a pair of interesting gins. We'll chat a little bit about the gin and the distilleries, throw in a bit of trivia, hopefully laugh a bit, and then we'll go off the beaten path. Although I say that this is a podcast about gin, really this is just an excuse for me to spend time with my friends. But that'll just be our secret. Okay, let's start exploring. My guest today is a returning guest, my sister Laurie. Thank you very much for coming on for episode 6 of season 3 here.
Yes, I'm thrilled to be back.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled to have you because this episode is sort of half sponsored by you, basically.
Right.
You were in May. You went on a trip to Iceland,
Yep.
and for my birthday, you gave me a couple of bottles of Icelandic gin, and we decided that we would do an episode out of it. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, we will talk all about your trip and stuff, but why don't we hop into the first gin, and we can do the little sippers, but let me first introduce the gin, and then we'll give it a try. So this is Marburg Gin. It's a relatively new gin. It just came out in 2019. But then, like, COVID hit, and then they had, like, a big earthquake over there, and so those challenges allowed them to kind of, like, revisit their recipe and their process, because kind of a big goal they have is to try and make as smooth of a gin as possible. So let's try this, and then I'll talk about what's in it because it's sort of interesting. So give this a try.
Oh, cheers. I love it. The smell of it is just really nice. And that is a very smooth gin.
Yeah, that is really smooth.
Wow.
That is good. Okay. So this gin contains 22 botanicals, but a couple of them are very specific to Iceland. Their signature botanical is dulse, which is our red seaweed.
Okay.
And that's what's sort of like, that's why that label has that on it, which you'll be able to see on Instagram for it. But it also has sugar kelp, which is like a brown seaweed, and that's known for its delicate balance of salt and sweetness. And so what they say is that their gin is an invitation to slow down, appreciate the simple beauty, and rediscover the quiet power of nature's embrace. So why don't we give these gin and tonics a try, and then I'll talk about what I put into these. So cheers.
Cheers. Yes, I should have brought back more bottles.
Yes, we'll send you back there. That's good. So, the gin and tonics we're having today are the gin with the light Indian tonic, and then I put a little bit of lime in that. Now, you and I have tried this gin before when we were just on vacation about a month ago, and we know it also goes very well with the Mediterranean tonic. So, but we're using the light tonic today because that's also what we're going to use in the other gin, and that way we can just kind of compare and contrast, so to speak. Now, the distillery that makes this gin is the Thorin Distillery. They opened in 2018, which we'll discover is also when the other distillery opened, near the coastal village of... And I know you studied Icelandic for like 6 hours or something. So let's see if you can pronounce the coastal city. Yes.
No.
Of where that's at.
That is the chant. Yeah. So
just
Icelandic,
give it a try.
Yeah. Hafnarfotjingo.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. This is how it is actually pronounced.
Hafnarfjörður. Hafnarfjörður.
So you were not close, but you did a much better job than I would have done. So, it also, the pronunciation is like hop, and there's no P in there. Like the first
absolutely.
thing is hop.
It's interesting language.
Yeah.
Nordic language, yeah.
So, when they opened this distillery, their goal was to craft a gin so smooth it would elevate any sip into a moment of discovery. And in addition, they also have a huge focus on sustainability out of their distillery. But right now they only, it appears, make 3 gins. So the one that we're trying, and then they also have a barrel-aged gin, and then what they call their Coast Guard gin, which is like their version of a Navy strength gin. So, but cheers. So thanks for coming and trying this and bringing these back.
Yeah, so this was, so the neat thing with that trip was back in high school, we had an exchange student actually from Iceland, Anna Maria, and I literally had not spoken to her since graduation.
Okay.
Because obviously she went back to Iceland, and and of course this was well before Facebook or anything like that. So about probably over a year ago, Todd and I first started thinking about going to Iceland, and at that time I actually reached. We are friends on Facebook today, and I reached out to her to be like, hey, we are thinking about maybe coming to Iceland. We thought possibly last summer, but that didn't happen. And she's like, oh, that'd be wonderful. If you ever do make it over here, make sure to, touch base, let us know. So the last night that we were in Iceland, we were able to meet up with her because she actually was on vacation herself with her daughter and grandsons to Spain. The first 5 or 6 days that we were in Iceland, and we started in Reykjavik. But then after 5 days, we left that area, and she lives about 20 minutes south of Reykjavik. And so at first I was like, oh no, are we not going to be able to see you? But then, but that last night when we traveled all the way back to Keflavik to fly out, we met up. She said, come over for dinner and you'll meet my family. So she has 3 grown children. Okay. Daughter who's married, and then 2 sons. One is still in high school, or maybe either senior, like what we would consider senior high school, or maybe his first year in university, and then their older son. So the daughter's the oldest, and then she has 2 boys. And the older of the 2 boys, he was the one that recommended this gin. He was like, because I was telling him about your podcast. Oh, okay. And he said, if you're looking for a smooth gin, like, this is it. And ironically, I didn't even have an opportunity to buy the gin until we were literally at the airport and went through the, customs and your last opportunity to buy things, and they had it. So yeah, bought it there, and then the other little bottles I got you. But so compliments of Anna Maria's family of pointing me in the right direction.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So how long were you guys in Iceland then?
Just under 2 weeks. So it was an easy trip we flew Detroit direct to Keflavik, and then rented a car while we were there. So Reykjavik is about 45 minutes north of the airport. They actually do have another airport, I think closer to Reykjavik, but that was like their main one, Keflavik. And so we stayed at I think I found it on VRBO or Airbnb. It was kind of a motel type thing where each little unit had like a mini kitchen, if we wanted to eat in and stuff. But one thing that Todd and I love to do while traveling is obviously embrace their food and their traditions. And so we did eat out pretty much for every meal. And then so every day was either us kind of doing something on our own or like a excursion that we booked. Okay. And then, so we spent the first 5 days in Reykjavik and then drove along. So they have like a Highway 1 that goes around the entire country. Okay. It's called the Ring Road. And so that's a famous trip that people do a lot. It's like, if you wanted, depending on how fast you wanted to do it, Todd and I like to kind of hunker down and really get to know the towns that we visit and stuff. So we were not really interested in doing the Ring Road. So we just went kind of along the southern coastline. So about 2.5 hours east along that southern Highway 1 is a town called Vik that we stayed at, like this cute little cabin for 2 nights. And then we went another 2 hours east to a town, and I'm going to slaughter its name, Jokulsholm. Stayed there, and then again after 2-3 nights, drove the 4.5 hours back to Keflavik, and then stayed at a hotel right there by the airport to drop off the car. And
Okay.
yeah, and so that last night was the night that we had dinner with Anna Maria and her family. So so it's a great trip. I would say that was surprisingly, I could tell from the books that we got on Iceland, so that we could kind of learn some things about it before visiting, that it was a beautiful country, but once you're there, it's just amazing. And we went in May, so it's kind of right before the summer tour season starts. Sun never actually, it sets, but you still have sunlight throughout the entire night. So it technically set like around 11 p.m.-ish, and then it would rise again at like
11:03.
Yeah, something like that. But, so even though it was under the horizon, you always had that like dusk feel
Sort
to
of like
it.
what Uncle Dan described, like up in Alaska.
In Alaska, yep. And Todd and I didn't have any problems with that. Every place we stayed at had the blackout curtains. But you still had, like, on the fringe of the curtains, like, some light peeking through. But I think we kept ourselves busy enough that we were pretty much ready for bed every night and just got up in the morning and started again. So
I didn't look this up, and I don't know if it came up when you were just kind of researching what you wanted to go and see and do, but is the majority of the population, like, in coastal towns and cities, like,
yes.
around?
Yeah, in fact, a lot of, like, the inner portions of Iceland, especially during the winter, unless you have a very special vehicle that is huge tires and stuff, it's completely impassable, like, in the winter. So that's why a lot of, like, even Reykjavik, I think, has like 36% of the population of Iceland lives in Reykjavik.
Okay.
And the whole country is about 390,000 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you have the majority right there, like that Reykjavik area. And, like, Vik was a very small town. I don't know what its population was. And then Jokulsholm was even smaller than that. But yeah, a lot of like the coastal ports are where you see a lot of your population. And I think because somebody was going on a cruise line that reached out to me recently, and I looked it up, and there's like 2 places on Iceland that, like, the cruise lines go in. One port is obviously there by Reykjavik, which makes sense. But then they have also a port on the north side of Iceland where I think pretty much year-round there's, like, whale watching.
Oh, okay.
And different types of whales. Like, the blue whales come in, which would be awesome to see that.
Really?
Humpback whales.
Blue whales are the biggest whales, right?
Yeah. And we didn't do any whale watching, although I think we were there that we could have possibly done some whale watching. So when we were there, like, we did have an opportunity to go into an ice cave, which was really cool. One of the ice caves had already shut down for the season because it was just warm enough that it wasn't good to, like, tour in. But the one that we went was over by like the Vik Katla area. So Katla is one of their big volcanoes on Iceland. So
what makes an ice cave? Do you know?
The water, so what's so interesting with Iceland and the beauty of Iceland is that there are literally waterfalls everywhere. And it's so interesting to watch them, especially when you're driving across the country, is all of a sudden you'll just see this waterfall come out of the ground. It's not like necessarily a river per se, but because of the, like the volcanoes and, like pumice, how it's not solid, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot. So water actually underground flows through the land and then comes out like the side of a mountainside or whatever. so that, I mean, it's just, yeah. So they call it, Iceland is known as the land of fire and ice, because you have the glacier ice caps and then the volcanoes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and what I wasn't prepared for either was, so a big reason we did this trip is that Todd is very much into volcanoes, and we were really hoping to actually see a live volcanic activity while we were there.
Sure.
Ironically, about a month and a half after our visit, one of them that has been kind of last couple of years has been showed activity again. So we were like, we missed it again. But what I didn't realize was how the multitude of volcanoes that Iceland has. So, because I felt like everywhere we looked, you would see a volcano in the distance. And now, most of these are what they would call dormant. They haven't shown activity for centuries or thousands of years. But they have like over 130 volcanoes. And of those, like 34, 36 are still what you would call active. That in the last, 100 years or centuries or whatever, they've shown some sort of activity.
Okay.
So, with one of the most famous ones in our lifetime being the one in 2010 that billowed out all that ash and shut down all the European airports.
Yeah, right.
Which ironically never shut down their own airport. So Keflavik was...
Why, because it was just like blowing toward Europe, basically?
Yes, it was blowing east, and Keflavik is on the western side of Iceland. So when we went to a lava show while we were in Vik, and he was like, yeah, so the funny thing is, our volcano, and I'll try to pronounce this volcano here in a second, but this volcano is crazy pronunciation, but he was kind of joking, saying, yeah, we shut down all of Europe. Sorry, not sorry. And then he was like, oh, and our airport never shut down because it was west of where all the... And I remember that. Like, people were stuck in Europe because nobody was flying at all.
Yeah.
I can't remember how long that lasted for. But if you ever want to look at something funny, if you Google or YouTube this volcano that in 2010 that erupted... None of the news reporters could pronounce it.
Oh.
Worldwide. It's a 16-letter volcano name. I'm going to try to pronounce it right here, but I am going to torture it. So if anybody from Iceland is listening, I'm sorry, I'm trying.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. Well,
Just
you
kidding.
never know. Maybe I don't remember.
Yeah.
So it's Aya Fiola Yoko or something like that.
You okay? Are you
Yeah,
choking? No,
exactly.
I'm just
That's what it means. I know the language is very guttural and...
Yes. When I was listening to how to try to pronounce that coastal town, I was just like, what?
I mean,
I'm like, I'll have Laurie try.
I'm somewhat
you can speak
intrigued
Icelandic.
by how they pronounce their words, because it doesn't, like you said, like these letters don't make any sense. But it's a 16-letter word. Yeah, so Google it. They ended up, news reporters ended up nicknaming it E15. Because even though it's pronounced Aya, it starts with an E and then 15 letters after that. So they called it E15. They just gave up.
Yeah, right.
They were like, we don't know how to do this.
This isn't going to work. So
The E15 volcano. The reason that some of their locations or names of their landmarks are so long is because it's a compound word. So that volcano is translated to island, mountain, glacier. So it's 3 words combined into one. So a lot of their areas around Iceland are like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You had said you'd go first in trivia.
Yes.
But you haven't heard this because the episode's not out yet. But in the last episode, we have, with Greg, we had a specific Icelandic question come up. So I just wanted to see if
I know.
If you knew this just from being there. So
Okay.
And it's multiple choice, so you don't have to just guess off the top of your head. But the national spirit of Iceland, Brennivinn,
Yes.
is also known by what nickname?
Black Death.
Oh, I didn't even have to give you yes. So you knew it. Good job. All right. I told Greg, I think I told him, I said, I think Laurie will know this. So, but good job. All right. This is your real question.
Can I have that one?
Okay. This is under National Treasure. So, questions about the national beverages of various countries.
Oh.
So, all right. Which of the following is not one of Switzerland's 4 national liquors? Okay. A, Kirsch, so Kirsch. B, Aquavit. C, Absinthe. Or D, Goldschlager. So again, the question is, which of the following is not one of Switzerland's 4 national liquors? And again, it's Kirsch, A, B, Aquavit, C, Absinthe, or D, Goldschlager.
I'm going to say it's either Kirsch or Goldschlager. I'll say D, Goldschlager.
No, it is B, Aquavit.
Oh.
It's more of like a Scandinavian.
Ah, so I see, because you bought me a bottle of Aquavit, and I figured, well, maybe Switzerland's part of that. Part of those countries that enjoy it.
So, well, I've completely demolished that
I know,
gin
it's
tonic.
so tasty.
It's so good. And then we will go get the next round ready. So, we'll be back. All right, we are back, and we are going to try our second gin from Iceland. Full disclosure, I sort of screwed things up a little bit because what Laurie had brought back for me was just one little bottle of this gin. It's called Olafsson Gin. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, no problem. We can do this because I had done these little travel bottles when Greg had been on his very first episode. But what I forgot was, with Greg, he actually had 2 bottles of each. So, we only have one. So, we made kind of shorties for the gin and tonics. But we also did salvage enough to also do little tasters. So, but just full disclosure on, on that for us. So, but again, as I mentioned, this is Olafsson Icelandic Gin. Kind of their motto is that it captures the otherworldly beauty of Iceland and also pays tribute to Eggert Olafsson, who was Iceland's famed 18th century explorer. He spent about 5 years exploring the landscapes, fauna, and flora of Iceland. So this gin has a classic juniper base, and they utilize some botanicals just from the nature of Iceland, so it includes Arctic thyme, Icelandic moss, and birch. And then it's all blended with the pristine lava-filtered water that Iceland is famous for. So let's give the sipper a try, and then we can try the cocktail. So
Cool.
Cheers.
That's good.
Yeah, that's nice and smooth too. It definitely has a different taste to it, though.
Yeah.
Like, I know it has. I don't think I got the exact number, but I know it has fewer botanicals. It's like 7 to 9, if I remember correctly.
And
So-
you mentioned it had more of that juniper forward.
Yeah, yep. It's definitely a little bit more juniper.
But it's not,
forward.
you know, a lot of people associate juniper to pine flavor. I don't, it's not that strong. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Nice balance.
Yes. It's Island or Eland Spirits, Eylan. They were also founded in 2018, just like the one in Reykjavik. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Nice. See, I pay attention. The founders are a group of friends who are both Icelander and Americans, and they were inspired by a shared love of Iceland and a desire to encapsulate the essence of Iceland. Currently, from what I can see, they only make this Olafsson gin, but they're working on a portfolio of other spirits.
Oh, nice.
Each one that would capture Iceland's character and natural beauty. But as far as I can tell right now, this is the only spirit that they're producing. Now, when I was looking online, on their website, they suggested if you make a gin and tonic to use grapefruit as what to add to it. However, every picture I saw showed a lemon. So just for ease of everything, I went with the lemon. So that's what we have. So it's the gin, again, the light premium Indian tonic, and then a lemon. So you can give this cocktail a try. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, that's really good.
You really needed to bring a bigger
I think it sounds like I need to go back.
Yes. If Todd goes back to look at like a active volcano, send him with an extra empty suitcase and
pack it
just
full of
line it up with
bottles.
all of these Icelandic gins, because those are both really good. They're both really smooth.
Yes.
But they both have really good flavor. Like, I definitely like both of these. So
Yeah.
that's that is a good gin. Okay, here's the funny thing that I also discovered accidentally in the episode with Greg last week. But this is just simply my opinion. The Marburg gin has 22 botanicals in it. This one has certainly fewer. But when they taste it, if you were to ask me off the sipper just which one is more complex, I would have been like, this one is, thinking this one has more botanicals, but that wasn't the case.
No.
And that was the exact same thing Greg and I bumped into in his episode.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that this was the more complex one.
Yeah.
Just different flavors coming through as you're sipping it, whereas the Marburg was just so smooth and...
Yes, but that's also what they were shooting for. Like, Marburg wanted to be, like, super smooth, so they did an amazing job.
Yeah,
and maybe
absolutely.
they just had to use, like, more botanicals to figure out how to, like, perfectly, like, balance that out. Because it was a super smit, and they're both, like, super tasty. I mean, good job, Laura.
Thank you.
So, nice. I can't wait to see
Cheers to
where you travel
Iceland.
next year and bring you back. And everything.
Well, I'll do a better job of bringing back more volume.
So you were there, as we had talked about, for about 2 weeks. So what were your top, like, 2 or 3 things that you got to see in Iceland, would you say?
Oh, wow. I think one of the coolest things Todd and I did was we actually went down into a dormant volcano, which is kind of unique because usually when volcanoes end of life nears, they kind of cave in on themselves and kind of create these crater bowls that, calderas.
Is there a specific reason they cave in on themselves?
I think Todd would probably be the one who could answer that question.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just because as things die away and the lava stops coming up, maybe there's just that support of things that it crumbles and falls and
that would make sense.
Yeah, so there's so obviously Iceland has a lot of calderas from different volcanoes over the millennia that have expired over time, but it descended us, so we had to do like this 2-mile hike, and it was kind of a crazy day. So I will say this, for Iceland during the time of year that we were there, we were expecting it to be essentially kind of rainy on and off every day,
Okay, because it was like the end of their spring.
Yeah, it's like the end of their spring, just before the summer hits. Temperatures were, as we were watching the weather app leading up to the trip, in the 50s and stuff. So we researched, proper attire, dress attire to take with us and stuff like that. So we were well prepared. First 3 days in Iceland, 65 degrees and sunny. Like, unheard of. In fact, every tour guide that we talked with were like, you people are so spoiled right now, you have no idea. And I was like, no, I do have an idea, because we've been tracking this for months, and we are grateful that we're getting this crazy weather. Well, anyway, the day that we did this volcano descent, it was actually what we would expect, misty, rainy, foggy, you can't really see very far, but it was cool. There was, 20 odd people on this particular excursion. So they split us up into 3 groups, because what they do is they descend you like down in this, not like an elevator shaft, but they, lower you down, and only about maybe 8, 9 people can go down at a time. But you descend like 400, 500 feet down into this volcano, and we land in one of the first spots where you can actually get out and walk around. Okay. And so they actually let us, and they had it roped off too, because there are other channels that obviously they don't want people to go into. But you could just get out and explore, and it's just amazing because there's all these minerals and elements in volcanoes that create, like, iron creates like these red hues, these purple hues, these green hues, these blue colors that, just depending on what the minerals were in the lava, is just beautiful. It's just awe-inspiring. So that was definitely one of our highlights of the trips. And then... Now,
it was kind of dormant. Was it still... Did it feel warm being down there?
No, it didn't. Not at all. Yeah, it was actually quite cool.
It's probably a good sign that it's cold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
The cool part is that when we came back up, so we were the first group down. So we were probably down exploring, and it wasn't like a huge space. I mean, but we could take our time, kind of like just wandering around looking. And so they brought down the second group and the third group. So by the time they brought down the third group, we had already been down there like 30, 40 minutes. And so then they brought us back up. And when they brought us back up, the sky had cleared and the rain had gone away. So we could actually see like the horizon, and it was really cool. I mean,
that's cool.
You could actually, see, we were up high enough that we could actually see Reykjavik in the distance, which was about a 30-minute drive from where we were. And so that was a really cool excursion we did. And then another one that we did, I will say that the ice cave was really cool, and it was in the Katla area, which is another famous volcano in the Vik region. That actually, for people who watch Netflix, there is an Icelandic TV show called Katla, which is filmed in Iceland, and we were at one of the spots that they did some of the filming at.
Are you an extra in one of the episodes now?
Yeah, exactly. We're in that.
Awesome.
No. I don't know how many years ago they filmed that show, but we had actually watched that show a couple of years ago, even before we realized we were going to Iceland. And anyway, the TV show was, about, I won't go into it, but it was kind of cool. So the ice cave was just amazing. It had that blue color of ice, because the oxygen is trapped. There's
like in a glacier.
Yeah,
I've seen
like
that
in a
before.
glacier.
It's amazing.
It's just gorgeous, and that was another nice little hike. We actually got to see an Arctic fox, which was a pure white fox that came up to where we were. It was molting at the time, so its fur looked a little mangy, but that's just because it was season changing and stuff like that. But that ice cave was just so beautiful.
Another funny thing with my hair going so great in the winter, sometimes people call me Arctic Fox.
Yeah,
no, I'm just
go.
kidding. But you did have a picture of that fox that we watched when.
We did, and then I would say that the third was our last day in Jökulsárlón. We actually did a sublet of a glacier. Got to do a glacier walk. So another excursion that we had booked through a tour guide, that we walked up one of the glaciers, and so I can say that I walked on a glacier. So that was also ironically another rainy day, but again, it was amazing weather that we had. I mean, and I didn't even care that it was raining, because I was like, well, this is what it should be. I mean, this is what we were expecting.
This is what I was prepared for.
Yeah, this is what we were prepared for. And it wasn't like a hard rain or anything. I mean, everything was kind of soaked, but we had layers. We were fine. We dressed appropriately. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And
but I know what you mean about that blue. It's something, if I remember, because it's been, what was that, 25 years ago that I saw that glacier? But it was, like you said, it's a lack of oxygen, and it's just the millennia of that ice just being compressed.
Yep.
And it's just so condensed.
Yes.
But that blue, it's just such a brilliant blue.
It's so beautiful. Such a beautiful blue.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, we'll get to enjoy that for about 5 more years. So that'll be good. So Go see a glacier if you can.
Go see a glacier if you can. I would highly recommend. I will admit, Iceland was never ever on my radar to go visit.
Okay, this was going to be my wrap up question for the Iceland thing is, you've gotten to go to some cool places. Where would you rank Iceland in terms of, like, is it your top 3, your top 5?
I would say top 5 for sure.
Okay.
It was just so beautiful. And that's not to say that the United States, I mean, the United States has some very beautiful destinations, which I still have yet to visit. Like, there's out west, I mean, there's the Badlands. I've never actually seen the Grand Canyon. We have some amazing stuff too, but I will say Iceland was, and it was so easy to visit because even though Todd and I tried to learn some Icelandic words like hello, goodbye, good day, thank you. Thank you is easy. Takk.
Takk?
Takk. Takk. Thanks. Takk. We always try to learn a couple of key phrases just to show some respect. But the cool thing is, number one, they drive the same side of the road we do with the steering wheel on the same side that we do. So there's no issue there. Majority of them speak English. Like, they know English very well. And they don't expect you to really learn Icelandic. I think they understand that their language is a bit different. So driving, navigating, super easy. They have a lot of roundabouts, but I actually love roundabouts. I think the United States should have more roundabouts. So I didn't mind all the roundabouts that we had. In fact, I loved it because outside of being in Reykjavik, there virtually pretty much was no traffic lights once you kind of got outside the city. It's just roundabouts.
Okay.
Or yield signs, because you can see miles one way or the other, so they don't have like a official stop sign. They're just like, pause, look, go. Go for it, people.
No, that's awesome. You're not the first person I know who's been there, but not that I've known a ton of people, but everyone I know who has been to Iceland just raves about, like, how beautiful it is, like, how nice the people are, like...
Yep.
Just...
Very nice people, yeah.
What a very, like, kind of interesting, fun destination. Yeah. So
tourism is a major part of their income, their gross national income. It's about 30% or more of their nation's income. Yep. And I think it really ramped up after that 2010, the E15 we were talking about earlier. I think people got attracted to the fact that, Iceland might be pretty exciting to go see.
Yeah, all of a sudden it might be a little bit adventurous type of thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's really grown in popularity after that 2010. Yeah. So obviously COVID was decimating, to their economy because they're a third of it's relying on that.
All those places that where tourism was big, they just got gutted.
So it's kind of cool when we talked to one of the very first day we were there, we actually did a food walking tour, and that's where we tried the Brennivin, the Black Death schnapps. And I know why they call it Black Death. I think packs a punch. She said, so she's obviously a tour guide, and she was impacted, by COVID. And just like our government did, their government gave everybody like a little stipend money. But with the caveat that they had to use it to book tour guides for their own country.
Okay.
So
go learn something about your country.
Yeah, go learn. And the lady that did our food walking tour, she goes, you know what? She goes, I so enjoyed doing that because she's so busy with her own job. It's just like here in the United States. We don't necessarily, we take for granted sometimes some of the beauty that our country has, and we don't really go out of our way for some of us to like seek it out. And she was the same way. Like, she had never really toured Iceland because she's from Iceland, And so she was like, she said that was so much fun because she got to do a couple of excursions that she normally would not do, and she got to view it from the tourist's eyes, like how is this tour being conducted, and got to learn something about her own country, and she thought that was great. Yeah,
that's a brilliant idea, because then all the money, like, you're giving money out, but then it's circulating back through the economy. So,
Yep.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, I'm glad you had such a good time. I'm really glad you brought back those gins.
Yeah.
They're delicious. And we had you go first, so we'll go with me now for my round of trivia, and then we'll go into Off the Beaten Path. So,
all right.
What's the topic?
The topic is national beverages of various... Oh, so national treasure.
Okay, so same as...
Yep,
okay.
national beverages of various countries. And I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right, but the national liquor of Tunisia is... Tunisia.
Okay.
Is Boucha. Boucha.
Boucha. Okay.
Yep. It's a brandy made from what fruit? A, figs. B, grapes. C, oranges. Or D, dates.
Oh, shit. And this is Tunisia?
Tunisia.
Can I do 50-50?
No.
Oh, wait, that's wrong. Sorry, wrong show.
And you can't call a friend. Oh, wait, didn't Jim do that once?
Yeah, he did.
He called his cousin or niece, yeah.
So okay, let me think for a second.
Do you need me to repeat the...
No.
Okay.
I'm just... Okay. Because Tunisia is going to be, like, up similar to, like, where we were at Morocco. So my gut tells me, although I could be completely wrong, it'll end up being something easy like grapes, and I'll overthink this, but my gut tells me it's going to be like a fig or a date. So I have no idea. So 50-50. Never really had either of those, so I don't know what would taste good. Let's go... Fig.
Ding, ding, ding.
Is it?
Winner, winner.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
All right.
Figs.
Well, that was complete luck, but...
I was going to quote an Indiana Jones sentence, but it's actually with dates.
Oh. All right. Okay, before we go to everyone's favorite part of the show, anything else that you... No? You good?
I'm good, yeah.
Great. Okay, well, you had said that you would like to go first for Off the Beaten Path, so go ahead.
Yes, so I wanted to talk about Stephen King, specifically for those in your audience, maybe who are turned off by Stephen King, because obviously he's known for his horrific novels, right? That
it scared the crap out of me.
Very scary. Which, granted, a lot of his novels are, because I'm an avid Stephen King fan and I've read just about everything. But what I wanted to talk about today was his Dark Tower series, because it's an 8-book series. So for people who...
Is it 8 books?
Yeah, total of 8 books.
Wow, okay.
That is... so for people who enjoy like a series type thing, you have that. And while obviously it's Stephen King and there might be a couple of like, small gruesome scenes, for the most part, it's more of a like sci-fi meets fantasy meets Western type book series. And so it's about... So the first book came out in 1982.
Okay.
So I was not yet old enough at that point, because I would have only been 9.
Yep.
And I don't think I really started reading Stephen King till maybe more like 12, 13, 14 years old. Anyway, so The Gunslinger was book 1 of the Dark Tower series. And it starts off like the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. So the gunslinger... this particular character is called Roland. Well, depending on Stephen King, when he did the audio for the last book, he pronounced it Deschain, because it's a Deschhain, Deschain. But everybody previous to hearing Stephen King pronounce it was like Duchesne, more of a French type, But so he's the last gunslinger in this world. And his quest is to seek out the Dark Tower, which is essentially the epicenter of all worlds. Like, it's what holds all universes together, including our own world. In fact, while the gunslinger kind of lives in a post-apocalyptic dystopia, he brings in people from our world to help him on this quest.
Oh, okay.
And so obviously it's a lot. It's an 8-book series. It started in 1982. It ended in 2012.
Have you read all of them?
I've read all of them, and I was so excited, because there was a big gap between like the first couple of books and then the last few books, because he paused. I mean, the guy's writing constantly, but 2003 was kind of when the series kind of ramped up again, and by that point I'm in like my 30s, and I'm like, oh my god, he's coming out with more books. I actually had to go back and reread like the first 3 or 4 books, because I kind of, you forget all the characters and all the players involved. And anyway, it's I was so absorbed by this whole world, because it did take place over decades of Stephen King writing, but it isn't like your It where you have this crazy Pennywise clown just killing people and stuff like that. It does have a lot of that fantasy theme, and in fact he said, like, not only were westerns, like especially like Clint Eastwood westerns, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. In fact, some of the books have like artist drawings in the book, and you're like, that is Clint Eastwood, right?
Like
there,
those old spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, spaghetti westerns and stuff, and it has the fantasy of, multiple universes, multiple worlds, and it's, your classic good versus evil, like the gunslinger. Gunslingers in this world were like the peacekeepers, the diplomats that like kept order and stuff, and this world is, falling apart essentially, and he's trying to save it, realizing that it's not just his world he's trying to save, but other worlds. And so Stephen King said a lot of the inspiration came from those spaghetti westerns, but also J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
Because in Roland's world, it's what he called Midworld, which I think is very similar to Tolkien's like Midworld and Middle Earth, and then like the gunslinger can have high speech and low speech, and I think that's also part of the Lord of the Rings, like the different speech and stuff. But anyway, I wanted to bring it up because I know sometimes people hear, oh my god, Stephen King. No, absolutely not. I'm not into him. He's like crazy. And I love his creativity, but this was probably one of my favorite series, because there is several books, and you meet all these characters, because Roland's bringing in people from our world to help him on this quest. He's not entirely like a good guy all the time. I mean, he'll sacrifice people to get to the ultimate goal of trying to save everything. But I don't know. I just wanted to share that for people, because I don't think people know that, sometimes Stephen King does the opposite of what he normally does, and he actually has...
Well, yeah, and also like a ton of his short stories that are not horror-based at all have been turned into like some of just epic or iconic movies for us, too, like Stand By Me, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile.
One of my favorite short stories and favorite movies.
And for you, The Green Mile, it's 2 of your Off the Beaten Path. It's Tom Hanks and
again.
Stephen King. Pretty amazing. So
Tom Hanks just keeps coming up.
Yes. Well, that's good. So is the series did the last book wrap up this Dark Tower saga?
Interestingly enough, book 7.
As far as you know.
Yeah, so book 7, interestingly enough, kind of wrapped it up. And then a year later, he came out with book 8. But in the sequence of reading, book 8 actually falls in between books 4 and 5. So it's kind of a interesting little...
Oh, okay. So he maybe just kind of...
went back and explored...
Giving more detail.
Yeah, explored more of a storyline. Yep. So actually, so the Dark Tower, book 7, is the final of... Well, final of that story. So he should be done. But the other thing I love about Stephen King is that if you're an avid reader of his, he talks about places and characters from, like, he'll talk about a character from another book that he wrote. And I always felt like that was kind of a special secret. Like, if you're reading Stephen King and you're like, oh yeah, he talked about that person in The Stand, or that was that took place in Derry, Maine, which is where it took place. A lot of his stories take place in Maine because that's where he lives. Castle Rock or Derry, Maine being some of the prominent ones, but I always thought that was kind of cool. What I, didn't really realize, just because I think there's such a huge gap between his Dark Tower books, is that they also point to other characters in his other stories.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people relate the Dark Tower series to be like Stephen King's, what do they call it, the magnum opus, which is like the centerpiece of all his worlds, of everything he's written. And yeah.
Yeah,
so.
there's, I am not going to remember her name. It's like Emily Saint something or other. But she wrote Station 11, and then I believe it's called The Glass Hotel, and then Sea of Tranquility. But she will also, like Sea of Tranquility, circle back to characters from previous books. And if you hadn't read those books before, it would be fine. Like, the story's good, but if you know who those characters are, it just makes the story, like, a little richer.
Yeah.
If you
you're
enjoy
like,
reading them.
I know who you're talking about, yeah.
So I may have to bring up Sea of Tranquility in, like, a future Off the Beaten Path. But, yes, similar,
yeah.
I mean, just that little
Each
piece of
novel
it,
can stand on its own, but if you've read a lot of his novels, you start to see
like little callbacks and
the inner...
Yes, like
exactly. And you feel like you're kind of a special person for
exactly.
making those connections.
You feel like, I got rewarded for reading those other books.
So if people are like sci-fi, fantasy, spaghetti westerns rolled into one, it's a 8-book series. I don't know.
By Stephen King.
Stephen King.
It's King.
Yeah.
King? Okay.
King, yeah.
Sorry, just kidding. Okay. Okay, so my pick, I was torn because I wanted something sort of Icelandic themed, and I didn't know what you were going to do.
Okay.
So, because I thought, there's one that you and I could have the same thing, which is for sure at some point in this going to happen. But so I'm like, I'll go something different, and if Laurie brings up... So, the one I thought we would do maybe was that detective series.
Trapped and Trapped.
Yes, that you and I both watched.
Yep.
It's set in Iceland, and it's on, like, there's, like, 3 seasons, but, like, a couple are on Prime, and, like, one's on Netflix or something
split
weird.
them apart.
But it's a good, like, interesting show. But anyhow, I thought you might bring that up. So I went a different thing, and I went back to, or not back to, but I haven't probably gone down this genre for a bit, but it is it's a series of graphic novels. And it's called Northlanders. It was originally just a regular comic book series. It ran from, like, 2007 to 2012. It was DC Comics, but their Vertigo, like, imprint. And basically, it's tales about Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the stories are fictional, but they're all set in and around historical events during the Viking Age, which would basically span from, like, 800 to about 1050 AD, roughly, give or take around there. So, how I got introduced to it was then starting in, like, around 2015, 16, or 17, they started putting them into collections. So, they would piece together some of the different stories, because the comics, it might be, like, episode, or, like, issue 15 through 18 was following, like, a specific story and characters, and so they would group them together. So there's 3 collections that I have. It's basically 3 books.
Oh, wow.
And it's the Anglo-Saxon saga, the Icelandic saga, and then the European saga. So I would say if you enjoy well-written tales, if you have an interest in wanting to learn about Viking history, although these aren't necessarily real characters, but it's set during, like, actual events.
Right.
And it's really well written, and it's really well drawn. Like, they're really good graphic novels. I would recommend like those 3 collections. So, or get one and just see if you like it. You can order them, online. I was able to get them at Vault of Midnight here in town years ago. But they're just I like them because they're historically based. It's just a really interesting part of history that I don't know a lot about. So, and from what I've read, I believe the author's name is Brian Wood. Like, he did a lot of research, like, into that area and made sure he was using, like, actual historical events.
That's nice.
The different stories, like, the European saga, like, part of it takes place in Russia, part of it takes place during, like, the siege of Paris, the Anglo-Saxon one, that's all set around the British Isles, and then the Icelandic, it's all set about Viking communities, like, up in Iceland. So it's just an interesting way to learn a little bit about a piece of history that I just didn't know about.
Yeah.
And so that's my recommendation. Again, it's called Northlanders. So,
okay. Yeah.
Neat. Awesome. Well, listen, it was great having you on the show again. Thanks so much for those gins. They're delicious.
Yeah, they are.
I easily smashed both of those. So, and thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
Yep.
Takk.
Yeah. Yes, Takk. And we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to subscribe to us on whichever platform you listen to your podcasts. Also, I want to take a quick minute to thank Darin VanderMolen for all of his help behind the scenes. Without him, this podcast probably wouldn't even exist, and his help is greatly appreciated. Hope you have a great week, and we will look forward to seeing you the next time we go down the botanical trails. This has been a Shits and Giggles production.